normal sport.
Okay,
Oh, it's
so, as I was saying, we're going to be talking today about going from the word to the parts of speech to the sentence, and now we're going to talk about the paragraph. And in the paragraph writing, when you're doing paragraph writing, the important factor about this one is you have to remember the number 3. Anybody ever see or hear anything in your life that was related to 3, and why the number 3 is important? Because it's like this packet I'm going to give you is kind of like something many of you probably have seen before, and you want to keep it with you and use it in that way at all times.
It's like in the Bible, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, right? How many apostles were there?
3.
3. How many kings were there?
3.
Musketeers.
The 3 musketeers. Okay? So 3's been around for a long time. Why am I telling you that? Because this paragraph format I'm giving you, you can use it for the rest of your life. It's the stepping stones for being able to write an essay. And you're going to notice that the number 3 is prevalent through each one of these parts. And basically, I want you to understand there are a total of 8 parts to the paragraph. And they are the topic sentence, the first point, example, second point, example, third point, example, and concluding sentence. Those are the 8 parts. Those are all 8 parts. Eventually, you're going to have to know these like the back of your hand. You're going to be able to use the packet I'm going to hand out to you here in just a second. And you're going to want to keep this with you and use it all year. You'll be able to use it next year, so on and so forth. But you're going to take those and you're going to realize as we go through this that each one of those 8 parts is broken down into 3. Each and every one of them is broken down into 3, just like the Bible. So when I get this to you, make sure you put your name, date, and period on this. You'll want to have a highlighter out or a pencil. I don't care which one you use. It's up to you. But you're going to want to write down any notes that I have. And the more that you write down that I'm saying, the better off you're going to be when it comes to you actually doing the writing itself. Everybody have one?
Short.
Are you the short one? Okay. All right. So follow as I go through this, you guys. And there was a little bit of background to this here, just so you guys understand this. If you look at the top of the page here, this is my copy, and it says here, the following parts are necessary for good, solid, well-organized paragraphs. When writing, you use all these parts, and remember that your goal is to do this. Whatever it is that you're writing, you're supposed to be writing something that if somebody was never in this class, they'd be able to pick it up, read what you said, and know exactly what you're trying to say. Okay? So that's our goal. It's going to take us a little while to get there, but it's okay. We have to start somewhere. So we're going to be starting here with just the format for the paragraph, looking at the parts. And I want to begin with one of the things that's necessary, if you guys understand this, is the golden rule of writing. We just said the power of 3, and 3 is really important. Well, you guys know from the Bible the golden rule. The golden rule is treat everybody like you'd like to be treated, right? So there's also a golden rule for writing. And it goes like this, and it's broken down into 3 things. Tell them what you're going to tell them, then tell them what you told them. Well, how's that work? Tell them what you're going to tell them, that's your topic sentence. Tell them, that's all the information you put in between your topic sentence, your points and your examples, and your concluding sentences, tell them what you told them. Those are the 3 main parts of a good, solid paragraph that relates to the golden rule. And remember, there's 8 altogether. You have topic sentence, first point example, second point example, third point example, and concluding sentence. So let's take a look at what a topic sentence is. And this is what you're going to start with, because this tells the reader without saying, in my paragraph, I will explain to how I can bore you to tears. You don't ever want to write a topic sentence like that. So we're going to learn how to write a good topic sentence, and you guys are going to practice that as part of your homework. So let's take a look at the topic sentence and how it's broken down. Please highlight and do everything I do, okay? It says here, a topic sentence must have 3 parts. And I've numbered them for you. The first thing is the topic is clearly stated. That's 1. 2, what is the point you're going to make about the topic? And 3, the number of reasons or the specific reasons. We're just going to focus on the number of reasons to start off with. We're going to start out small and we're going to build, okay? And this is all leading to where we're going to go later on. So this is the stepping stone to what we're going to do with writing later on. So that's the topic sentence. It has the 3 parts. Topic, clearly stated, a point or idea about the topic, and the number of reasons. All right? I'm going to ask you guys to remember this later on afterwards. So here's an example of one. All right, here we go. there are several reasons why traveling in South Korea is a favorite activity of mine. So can anyone tell me what the topic is? There's 3 parts to this. Max?
Traveling to South Korea.
Okay, that's my point about the topic. That's true. Mr. Nye?
Favorite activity?
Yeah, the topic is my favorite activity, and I'm lining these up so you guys can see this. Topic clearly stated is 1. Point about the topic is 2. Number reasons. And it doesn't matter which order it comes in. You just need to have all 3 parts. You can have number reasons first. You can have your topic first, or you can have your point about the topic first. It doesn't matter, just as long as you have all 3 parts in there. Okay? That's an example. Second part is your first point. Okay? And again, your first point has 3 parts. And if you see this, the first part, it begins with a transition. That's 1. The second thing, it makes some statement about the topic or expands the topic. So you're saying something about the topic, right? And here, these 2 go together to make your first point. And then you restate the topic in new words. Those are the 3 parts. So you have to start with a transition. From your transition, then you make a point about the topic. And then you have to make sure you restate the topic in new words. Now, and I realize it's going to be a lot of information, but we're going to go through it first, and then you guys are going to practice these, okay? So here's an example of that point sentence. Since my topic is about traveling to South Korea, it's my favorite activity. First is a transition. When I travel around this country, I get to take in many new experiences. So all I'm doing is I'm bringing this focus back in with favorite activity is what? Traveling. And there's my transition. And then I have to make some kind of statement about it. I get to take in many new experiences. That's my first point for my paragraph. And we're doing a 3-point paragraph, as I said. All right? So my job then, as I said, if we have topic sentence or first part of the paragraph, your first point is the second part. Now you have to get the example. So what is an example? An example actually has 3 parts as well. And basically you're focusing on an idea. So what's the idea? Taking many new experiences. Again, this is broken down into 3 parts, your example. This is where I'm going to explain and show. I'm going to explain what I meant by that statement, and I'm going to prove it to you in the example, okay? So it has to be, first thing, it has to be, number 1, it has to be 2 or more sentences long. The first sentence explains, and the second sentence gives the specific detail, and then you got to make sure you tie it back. So what are we talking about? Always keep the focus. Remember the golden rule of writing. Tell them what you're going to tell them, and tell them what you told them. All right? So here's an example of that. Here's what I had to say about traveling to South Korea. Here's my example. Traveling through South Korea, I see many temples like Sanamsa, Wamsa, Sangkwangsa, Baekhyangsa, and Unjasa I have never seen before. So this is my explanation. Many new experiences. Many new experiences I'm talking about are the temples that I've never seen. Okay? There are quiet places nestled, now I have to do the showing. There are quiet places nestled in the mountains that gave me an opportunity to relax, contemplate, enjoy nature, and listen to soft chanting of monks. I also see many of the unique green grass parallel mountains that scatter the mountainsides and the traditional Korean-style villages with a distinct pointed roof lines and architecture that are all very new to me. I said new experiences, right? How many of you guys got a picture in your head when I was explaining to you what happens when you go to see one of those temples? So that's your job. In the example, you're trying to leave the reader with a picture that proves your point, being very specific of the explanation you gave in the first part of your example. Okay? So that's an example. Then you get to your second point, and your second point again goes back to having those 3 parts. It has to begin with a transition. Where the topic sentence you could change the order, your point sentences always have to begin with a transition. So the transition is the first part. The second part is I have to make a new point on the very same topic that I was talking about here in the topic sentence, and then I want to make sure I bring the topic in new words again. Okay? So here's an example of the second point sentence. Well, my first transition was first. It makes logical sense to go from first to second, or 1 to 2, or to begin with to next. So second is my transition. Traveling, I'm bringing back the topic again. gives me the opportunity to experience the outdoors. So something about traveling out in Korea has to come out in the outdoors that I enjoyed while I was there in Korea. So that's the point I'm trying to make on the same talk about why I like traveling to South Korea. So when you get done with your second point and you have your 3 parts, then you go on to your next example, which again has those very same 3 parts. Those very same 3 parts, it's like this. First off, you have to be 2 or more sentences long. The first sentence explains, the remaining sentence show and ties back to the main topic. So there's nothing new as far as the structure of the point sentence, but it's the example that's going to change because of the different part of the topic you're talking about. So, and the main thing here I want you guys to understand, don't assume that the reader understands what you're saying. This is why you have to explain and show specifically. All right? Here's another. This is the second example. For example, each time I visit one of the temples in South Korea, I get to see the beautifully colored and fertile mountains that change for every season, from the lush green spring and summer to the barren trees of fall and the white blankets of winter. So there's my explanation of, what did I say? I get to experience the outdoors. I told you the 4 seasons I get to experience outside. I also enjoyed smelling the clean, fresh air, drinking the pure mountain water, exploring densely vegetated trails, listening to the meditative streams along the dirt paths crawling all over the mountains. I take many pictures to capture this beauty so I can revisit it over and over again. My idea was, why is traveling to South Korea a favorite activity of mine? Well, here I gave you another point that explained, and I gave you another detail that shows you specifically what's happening. And again, you should be able to visualize that. All right? Anybody have any questions so far? Good. Then we go to the third point. Notice it says up here, number 6, because we're on the 6th part of the paragraph. Remember, there's 8. There's 6. This is the 6th part. The third point, again, your point sentence has to begin with a transition. It has to make a statement about the topic. It has the main topic and the words again. Here's your example. 1 is third. That's your transition. Next, I enjoy traveling because, why? I get to encounter different cultures and people. I get to encounter different cultures and people. So my example, then my 7th part here, again, I have to do what? What do I have to do in my example? You guys have it right there in front of you. All you have to do is look. What are the 3 parts of the example that I have to do?
You have to explain and support what you said in the 3rd point. It has to be 2 or more sentences long, and it must show, prove, or tie back to the topic.
Okay, so I've got to explain, show, and tie back. Those are the 3 things I got to do. For the point, my example is only doing for that 1 point. So let's see what I have here. Okay? The example is, so I'm trying to prove my point about I enjoy different cultures and people. As I travel around South Korea, I get exposed to many traditional arts like Korean pottery, dance, music, and clothing. All very interesting, unique, and flavor. Different culture and people. That's what the explanation is. Now we have to do the showing part. The traditional clothing, for example, is very bright in colors, mixed together, and often has symbolic animals or characters on them. In addition, I meet wonderful people wherever I go. They are also generous, kind, and very curious to know about me. They ask me to sit and eat or drink with them, are so easy to talk to, and a pleasure to get to know. I have never gone anywhere without having a positive cultural exchange and conversation with the people of Korea. This was one of those very interesting things that I found out when I was in Korea. People wanted to get to know me. And this is an actual event that happened to me all the time. And that's what I want you guys to get to. When you're writing in your examples, go to those actual events that have occurred in your life, which would prove and show what you said in the first part of your example. So now we've got 7 parts down. We have the last part to go, which that's the concluding sentence. Remember, the golden rule of writing is tell them what you're going to tell them, then tell them what you told them. Topic sentence, tell them what you're going to tell them. And it's 3 parts. Tell them, which is all your points and examples, and tell them what you told them is the last part, the part 8, where you have the concluding sentence. All right? In the concluding sentence, you have the 3 parts. Again, it begins with a transition. Then you have to summarize the 3 points you made in your paragraph in new words. In other words, synonyms. You take your 3 points that you talked about and give them new words, and then you have to refer back to the main topic. This is all about focus. Remember, it's all about focus. So here's an example of those 3 points in new words. And by the way, the concluding sentence has to be with the transition. After the transition, you can order the other 2 parts in any way you want to. So here's the number 1. Transition, consequently. Traveling around South Korea is an enjoyable and favorite activity of mine because there is so much to see, which was my first point, in new words. The countryside is beautiful, my second point, and it has a rich culture and people. All right? So those are the 3 main points that I did in new words, and they have to be, this is the key, in the same word. All right? So, can anyone tell me what the 8 parts of the paragraph are? 8 parts. Next.
The topic sentence, the first point in the example, the second point in the example, the third point in the example, and the concluding sentence.
Very good. Those are the 8 parts of the paragraph. And can anybody tell me where transitions have to be in a paragraph that we just talked about? Those transition words that help tie everything together.
They have to be in the at the beginning of the first point, the beginning of the second point, the beginning of the third point, and the beginning of the conclusion.
Good job. Well done. All right. And then, can anybody tell me what you're supposed to do as far as your examples? What are you supposed to do in your examples? What is the purpose of the examples? Valerie?
To explain like your point, so like if you're like since you're writing about your favorite activity and how you get to Korea, you have to explain the point, like